Welcome to So Easy. This is Mayra, and we are going to work on this backpack that has 6 pockets and can be used across the body just by joining the lobster claws together. The list of materials are in the description, and the pattern can be found on our website. It is a free pattern, so enjoy. We will start working on the gusset and attaching the zipper to it. Place the right side of the fabric up and the wrong side of the zipper up. So that means right side of the zipper and fabric are facing each other. Now the lining, right side of the lining down. So if you think about this, all the right sides are facing each other. Pin and sew a 3/8 of an inch. We are attaching the other side of the gusset, which is the narrower part, and that belongs to the front side of the backpack. Lining side with lining side and fabric with fabric. As usual, make sure that you are attaching the right side of the fabric to the right side of the zipper. I am attaching now the lower part of the gusset. If you can see the rounded corners, go to the narrower part of the gusset. This narrow part belongs to the front of the backpack. Open the zipper before you sew and then trim. We are going to make the small pocket that is inside the backpack. It has a zipper, so face the right side of the fabric with the right side of the zipper. As you can see, it's upside down. Then pin the pocket bag, the right side, with the right side of the zipper. It's the same technique every time you make any type of pocket. Do not forget to open the zipper before you sew the sides. I will zigzag and then cut the sides. It is time to make the tabs to attach the hardware to the back of the backpack. I have cut a strip of 3 inches in length, folded the edges to the center, and pinned it 1 inch from the corner. It is easier to keep the strip of cotton longer when you're attaching the other 2 tabs. Sew it down and then cut the tape. Instead of sewing back and forth here, it is best to keep your needle down and then turn the work. We are going to make the outside zipper pocket, and for that you will need to use the back piece of the pattern of the backpack. Start sewing away from the corner and try to keep your stitching very straight. Once you get to the corner, put your needle down, lift the foot and turn the fabric. This is called pivoting. Now you count the stitches. In my machine there are 6 from one corner to the next. Then continue sewing to the next corner and repeat. The key to this pocket is to make the corners really sharp. You can make them sharp by sewing the way I'm telling you to pivot the corners, and by cutting very close to the corners but not through it. It also is extremely important that you iron before you attach the zipper to the rectangle that will be left once we cut through this pocket. Pass the lining through the rectangle and iron. Make sure this rectangle is very crisp and you cannot see the lining on the right side. Then position on top of the zipper and sew the zipper down. There is a more detailed explanation of this technique on the link below. This is a pocket that you can add to any bag. Remember, before you sew the second corner, to open the zipper. The best way to do it is to lift the foot and keep the needle down. To reduce the bulk, I am sewing on top of the zipper, and then I will cut off the top of the pocket. Sew the sides of the pocket about 5/8 of an inch from the edge, and then zigzag. Trim the pocket on the top and then on the sides, trimming at the same time the zipper. I have placed the lining on top of the pocket and then added the little pocket we made previously with a zipper. To make the straps, you need 66 inches of cotton tape that is 2 inches wide. Iron it and turn the edges to the middle. Pin the tape on top, hiding the edges, and then sew. With the ribbon side down, thread the strap through the D-ring, in my case the rectangle, and fold 1 inch up. Next step is to attach the slider, then the lobster claw. Take the end of the strap, pull the strap away from the bridge, that makes it easier, and then pull 3 inches, the last 1 inch fold it in. We are going to sew a rectangle first and then a next in the middle. For that we need to sew the edges first and then stop in one of the corners. Instead of going back and forth, I move the strap so I can always sew forward. I stop in the middle and then sew to the other corner, making the X. Continue pivoting when you get to the corners to add another layer of stitching, reinforcing the strap. Now we're going to make the applied pocket, and this is a very easy to make pocket even though it looks complicated. Make two tabs that are 1 1/4 inch by 1 inch and fold them in half. Place them 9 inches apart. You can know if you are in the right spot by comparing it with the pocket. We will sew the tabs to the zipper about 1/8 of an inch from the edge. Place the zipper right side down on top of the right side of the fabric and sew. Place the other side of the pocket on top of the zipper, right sides together. As usual, open the zipper a little bit before you start sewing. Once you get to that spot, close the zipper back up and continue sewing. Trim the zipper to match the edges of the pocket, and because we have to turn 1/4 of an inch for the seam allowance, we are going to cut off the teeth of the zipper. This will allow us to turn 1/4 of an inch. To make the pocket stand up, we need to join the corners together on the right side of the fabric. Then you sew at 1/4 of an inch. Now we are going to fold the edges 1/4 of an inch. When you get to the corner, open the seam allowance and then fold. The placement of the pocket is 1 inch from the sides. have finished pinning the pocket and I will be sewing at 1/8 of an inch. Pay special attention to the zipper area and the corners. We are finished with this pocket and now it's time to start putting the backpack together. Before that, we are going to add the pockets that go on the sides. We need to fold the top of the pocket 1/4 of an inch twice and then pin to the gusset. Let's attach the back of the backpack to the widest part of the gusset. Find the center mark and align it with the center of the gusset and pin. At this point you might need to change your foot to a walking foot if your machine cannot handle all the layers. Attach the bias tape from one corner to the next without stretching it. Sew at 3/8 of an inch. Fold the bias tape once, then fold it over the seam allowance, pinning 1 mm below the stitching line. Before we pin the front side to the rest of the backpack, this is the optional pocket that you can make if you want. It is very simple, just trace the lower part of the front side of the pattern and then pin it to the rest of the backpack. At the bottom of the front side of the backpack, the corner is rounded. In your pattern there is a notch that is very important you don't forget to mark when you are cutting the fabric. Before we sew the bottom and seal the bag, inspect your backpack and make sure there are no gaps, loose ends, or any layers that you did not catch while sewing. In your pattern on the bottom part, there are 4 notches that you need to match with the rest of the backpack. Make sure you mark these when you're cutting the fabric and then match the corners properly. The difficult part will be to sew where the bias tape is. Start sewing away from the corner, and once you get to the corner, before sewing through the bias tape, lift the foot and push the bias tape with the seam allowance backwards. I'm getting to the corner, then I stop before I sew the bias tape and the seam allowance. I lift the foot. I'm going to use my scissors to help me make a couple of stitches. I need to get exactly at 3/8 of an inch from that corner. Then I continue sewing. Do not push your sewing machine at this point. This is the hardest part of the whole process. As you can see, the stitching is not straight because of the fact that it's very thick in the corner and I am using satin. I will be adding a bias tape, so this stitch is not going to be seen. Normally you would cut the corner, but in this instance we won't, because we will be adding bias, and I will show you how to add bias at a corner. We will begin by folding the bias tape 1/2 inch before we start sewing. We sew at 3/8 of an inch, and when we arrive to the corner, mark the exact spot at 3/8 of an inch. Once you get there, lift the foot, pivot the work, you see that it's already a 90-degree folding on the bias tape. Align the edges. It is a very slippery fabric and I am not using any pins, so you can see how it moves around a bit. To hide the end of the bias tape, finish sewing 1 inch past the fold. Then cut the bias tape. Fold and pin 1 millimeter from the stitching line and then sew. When you get to the corner, make a little pleat and continue sewing. Notice how slow I am doing this because at this point it's very thick and my needle could break if I'm not careful. Once you have finished sewing the bias tape, inspect the backpack and make sure there are no loose threads hanging or gaps. Steam with an iron and an ironing cloth and it's ready to pack as a present. This has been Mayra for So Easy. I hope that you have enjoyed a sew along and don't forget to grab the free pattern from our website. Until next time.